Hey guys, one of the questions that is asked of me quite often is, how do you go through a college course so fast? I just finished a class in 8 days, and it wasn't very long ago I finished a class in 7 days. And yes, these are accredited classes. These are classes that are held at Brandman University, and it's a college where you're able to go at your own pace. It's under their MyPath program, but they're not the only ones that have that program. There are other colleges that also have a similar program where you're allowed to go at your own pace, one class at a time, and breeze through it based on the education that you have. Now, there are a couple of things that may be unique to me in my ability to go through these classes, but I don't think they're all unique to me. So I want to give you some pointers on some things that I do that I know you can do in order to speed up how fast you get through a class. Now, I will tell you that I was able to graduate getting my bachelor's degree. I did 2 years worth of school in 1 year. That was 60 credit hours in 12 months. So taking on a class that requires 13 papers in the matter of 7 days is totally possible. I did that at Brandman University. I graduated college with my bachelor's degree, cum laude. And so I know that these things are possible. So let's take a look at one of them now. And just before I forget, don't forget to subscribe, and you'll be able to see more tips and tricks that will be able to help you get through college and get those grades that you want to get. So let's take a look, see at my computer, see what we can do. One of the things that you can do right away is, I know if you have a class that is self-paced, it's at a class where you get to go at whatever pace you want, there are going to be essentially 2 ways for you to learn. One is going to be you reading. There's a lot of reading. Number 2, it's going to be you watching videos on somebody else giving you a lecture. Now, if you're lucky, a lot of these videos that you'll be required to watch will be on YouTube. Now, some of them will not be. They'll be on their own system, and the results will vary with this next tip I'm about to give you, and that is that you can change the speed at which you watch videos. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but when I watch a YouTube video, I go down and I click on that little icon that makes the video speed up. So if you're someone where you're saying, you know what, I want to be able to get through this class quickly, I don't want to take so much time on this class, it seems to take forever. One of the things that has helped me the most is to watch all YouTube videos in 1.5 to 2 times speed. So if you can take, for instance, TED Talks, I often get assignments to watch TED Talks, which is fine. I love TED Talks. About 15 minutes to 17 minutes long, sometimes 10 minutes long. That can take 10 to 15 minutes. However, if I watch them at 2 times speed, I just cut that time in half. Now, the people that want me to write papers on what I see in TED Talks, they usually want me to give the gist of the TED Talks. They don't want me to have quotes from the TED Talks. They just want me to have the general idea, and then to relate an experience from my own upbringing or my background with the thing that I learned in TED Talks, or something I will plan to change about myself in the future based on something I heard in TED Talks. So that's my first tip, and that is to speed up the videos that you're watching. Tip number 2, anytime you have an assignment, before you go and do the assignment, before you go do all the reading or the listening to the videos, first go to the assignment. Within the assignment, it's going to have very specific instructions on what they want you to do. In my case at Brandman University, they quite often will actually tell me where to get the information. They'll say, go look up this particular journal, right? If it's Journal of Medicine or Journal of whatever, they'll tell me which one to go to. They'll give me the title and they'll give me the author, and I have to go look it up inside my internal university search. So I'll go and search for it, and then I'll pull it up and I'll have the PDF, right? So that's one way. That's one thing that they'll ask. They'll sometimes point directly to where I need to go. The second thing they'll do is they'll say, write this many pages about blah, blah, blah. They'll have a question. What if they have, many times they'll have more than one question. Now, if it just has one question, it's very easy. Usually it's a very short topic and everything's good. If it's, say, write 250 words on this, that's easy, guys. You take the topic they tell you to go research the thing where they tell you, you quote something from whatever it is they tell you to look at, and then you give a personal experience or something that matches it, and you're done. It's very easy. Now, when it becomes harder, when they want you to write a lot about that subject. Now, the way you take care of that is usually, if they want you to write a lot, they'll have an outline more or less in their question. They'll have multiple things they want you to talk about. So you need to learn how to break down what they're asking you in order to say, this paragraph is about this one item, this paragraph's this item, this paragraph's about that item. So one of the things that we learn in elementary school is how to write a 5-paragraph essay, right? A 5-paragraph essay is essentially where you have an introductory paragraph, a supporting paragraph, another supporting paragraph, and another supporting paragraph, And then the last one is your conclusion. Well, that really doesn't change when you get into college, except for the papers get longer, right? So for instance, the last paper I had, it was a 15-page paper that I had to write for my master's program at Brandman University, because that's essentially how you do all of your final exams, is through papers. And it takes me about, I can do about 4 pages per hour for my research papers. So it took me about 4 hours to finish my final paper. But what they did was they said, we want you to write about this, this, and this, which means they essentially gave me the outline of my paper. Now, for smaller assignments, when they want you to write 1 or 2 pages, they will usually have something. Say, for instance, write about Africa, specifically about the animals of the elephant, the rhino, and the zebra. Well, now I know I'm going to have a paragraph talking about the animals of Africa. That's going to be my introductory paragraph. I'm going to mention with that introductory paragraph the elephants, the rhinos, and the zebras. And then I'm going to have supporting paragraphs that each will talk, one about elephants, one about rhinos, and one about zebras. And then I'll have a conclusion that talks about those 3 topics. So that makes it very easy when they spell out in their question to you of what to write about. So that's when I take the information that they have, I write down the name of I write down the whole question that they're asking me, then I write down what each paragraph should be about, and then I go ahead and write it. Now, if it's going to be a long paper, they're requiring you to write, say, 10, 15 pages. Well, it's the same general idea. Let's say they wanted you to do the same thing, but this time they want it to be 10 pages long. Well, if that's all they told you, then you know you're going to have at least 3 pages of your report to be on the animals of Africa. You have 3 pages on elephants, 3 pages on zebras, and 3 pages on rhinos. And that gives you a total of 12 pages, with the last 3 pages summing up all the information or talking about other animals that may not have been included in the list of animals that are found in Africa. After all, Africa is a continent, not a country. So my point is, take the information that they give you. They are giving you gold. I have been an instructor for 4.5 years. I'm not currently teaching college, but I was an instructor to people who are 18 to 50s and 60s. And what I often wanted as an instructor was for the person I was teaching to repeat back to me the things I taught them. So use this to your advantage. When you're a college student, in order to get through these classes very quickly, they really want you to regurgitate exactly what you just heard back to them, because it proves to them and their ideas that you learned something. So it's not that you're repeating the thing that you learned from them as a bad thing. That's exactly what they want from you. You don't have to come up with a whole new idea. So take the concepts that they are talking about in the different sections and have that be your overall theme. Have that be something that points you in the direction. So let's say that they're talking about poaching. Well, if they're talking about animals in Africa, they're probably saying they want you to talk about the tusks, right? Being how people are murdering elephants for their tusks, for the ivory in Africa. So take that information and say, this is what we've been talking about. Here's the question that seems like it's out in left field, but let's relate it back to this. Now, if you have an assignment where you have to write a very long paper, you need to reach into your experiences. You need to tell a story. This is when you need to be a storyteller. You need to have an introduction to the story. It's not, I once lived in a house. It's leading up to how you got into that house. I was born, or my parents stole me from the hospital. I don't know, something that's very interesting. Have a story that you can tell that will take up some pages, right? Something that goes along with the story. For instance, in my house, if I was talking about ivory and poaching, I can tell you that when I grew up, we had handles on our knives that were made from deer antlers, which is very similar to ivory from the tusks of elephants, right? It's the same idea. You got something from an animal that you could use for utility, okay? So I could mention that although it's similar, it's also very different, where the antlers of deer actually fall off. They don't have to be killed in order to take them, to harvest them. You know, things like that I can talk about, where maybe I haven't done a huge study on poaching, but I can take a life experience from when I lived back in the woods of Arkansas and use that towards something that has something completely different, which is the animals in Africa having their tusks being stolen. Okay, so you want to find a story in your life that you can associate with the story that you're telling. Now, sometimes they will say, what did you learn? And there will be times when you'll say, I didn't learn anything because I already knew all this stuff. That's fine. Take yourself back, pretend you didn't know any of that stuff, and relate it as if you did learn something. Because in reality, most of the people going through university are the people that are 18 to 22 or 23 years old, and they're going through the first time, and they may not have as many life experiences as somebody else who's older. I'm 40 years old, I've got a lot of life experiences, so I can rely on those things. And so if they're saying, tell us about a time, or tell us about what you learned about this video talking about business. Well, I've started and owned and got rid of businesses, so I already know what that is. I didn't learn anything from the video, but what I can say is, oh, if I were to start a business, this would be a great idea that I learned from this video, even if you already knew that information. You see? It's not so hard after all. You just have to come up with a story. What is the storyline that you're going to tell in this paper? You have to be a good storyteller. If you're not a good storyteller, then you have to learn how to be a good outliner, as in create an outline. And if you do that, then you'll be able to say the sun came up, the sun was at noon, and the sun went down, right? Or vice versa, right? The sun came up, the sun was at noon, the sun went down. If you have a chronological event, then it's very easy to tell the story. You just have to put it down in an order and then go back and write the thing. As far as the grammar, the spelling and stuff, that all depends on your upbringing. I type about 80 words a minute, so for me it's very quick for me to type something up, but at the same time I still have to think it. I still have to put it from here to here, but it helps to be able to type very quickly. When you're writing a research paper, one of the fastest and easiest ways that I have found, if I have to write a 15 to 20 page paper and I do it all in one day, what I do is I will get a topic, I will find certain keywords for that topic, and I will search just those keywords on a place like scholar.google.com, which is a great place to find journals and the like for scholarly articles. And I will look for those keywords. When I open up anything that has a PDF, I will open up and I will search to Control F, right? Control F to find, and I'll search one of my keywords and it will pop up somewhere in the text. I'm not going to read 50 to 100 pages of a PDF that I bring up. That is absolutely insane. However, what I will do is I'll find a keyword, go read around the keyword, see if there's anything that I can take. If I can, I'll cut and paste it into a Word document. And I'll do this with several sources. If Brandman University as an example, they tell me they want 7 scholarly sources. Perfect. As soon as I have one quote from that thing, I'm done. I'm off to the next thing, because once I've got one quote, I don't need to go reading anymore. I'll find it on something else because I got to get 7 of them anyway. So that will create the diversity that I need. Then in that Word document, what I'll do is I'll put down the source of where I got the information, and then I'll put the quote directly underneath it as a bullet point. Then the last thing I do is, or pretty much the last thing I'll do is I'll go to this website called cite.thisforme.com. Now it has a ton of ads, but it does you a wealth of good. It does you a great service in that it takes the information that you have, the website that you have, the author's name, the date that you looked it up and everything, and it will cite it. It will create a bibliography for you that is perfect to the edition that they want you to cite it for. So I use the APA 7th edition. You could be using the 6th edition. You could be using a Harvard edition. You could be using the Purdue edition. I don't care what edition it is. They've got several on there that you can choose from, but it will set up the bibliography for you. It also will give you the in-text citation so that you can copy and paste that in there. So while I'm looking for all these quotes, I'll grab a quote, I'll put it on this side, but if it asks me for 7 sources, I will be looking for about 10 because I may not use 2 or 3 of those. And each keyword that I have, I'll have at least, if I have 5 to 7 keywords, I'll try to find 2 quotes per keyword, because I figure I don't have to use a quote for every single one, but I want to have at least one for every keyword. And so if my topic is again on Africa and elephants and all that, well, then I will find a scholarly article that talks about elephants being poached. I'll find something that talks about Africa, and it could be a throwaway quote. It really could be a throwaway quote. It really doesn't matter. It just has to meet what the school requires of you as far as number of scholarly articles and the length of your paper. So again, the tips: speed up how fast you're watching YouTube or your video, because it could be another site too, but speed it up. Cut and paste into a Word document with all of your quotes, and then be able to cut and paste it into what you're writing and just fill in the quotes in where they need to be, putting your own 2 cents along the way, and tell a story. Use the question as your outline. These are all really good tips that I use to breeze through the classes. The last tip that I have is to make a habit. Small habit, but it's a habit. I am also a full-time employee of a company. I am a full-time dad. I've got 5 kids and a wife who want to spend time with me. So what I do in my classes, if say for instance with Brandman, where I have 12 to 13 what they call milestones, which are basically assignments I have to turn stuff in. If I want to finish a class in a week, I will say, okay, as soon as my work day is done, I will turn in 2 assignments, and then I'll be done in 1 week. If I want to be done in 2 weeks, I'll do 1 assignment per day. And that way, as soon as my assignment's done, my work is done at this hour, my work for school is done at this hour, and then I can go eat with my family and spend some time with my family, and I will finish my classes sooner. So these are the tips that I use. If you have any questions, or if you have tips, I would love to see them down in the comment section down below. I do take a look, I do read those things, but you can also reach out to me at www.watchbob on youtube.com. That is my personal website. You can reach out to me there if you have more tips or have questions where you'd say, Bob, I just don't know how to do whatever, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day, and I'll see you next time.